Ready to rock and roll?
I am.
Here we go. What we have, just so I'm mindful of the clock, we have till when? 2:30?
I believe that's correct.
I don't think this is a full 45-minute talk. I designed it deliberately to be a little bit short to leave us plenty of time for discussion. CIA, or Creativity in Action, which some years we're more creative than others. Some years I think we don't deserve that name. We should be like doing it just like we did it last year and not getting any better in action, but other years we do quite well with it. This is my 20th year of involvement, which means I clearly don't change hobbies often enough. But that's okay, because I think this is a pretty good program, and I'm content to have it be my hobby for 20 consecutive years. I come up with other hobbies on the side during the off-season. Don't worry, I'm not that mono-dimensional. 3 different main topics, or collections of thought. Basic principles, costs and how, what they come out of, and then the revenue side of things. There we go. Basic principles. First of all, planning is going to be key. Plan everything. It's going to not work. The planning is not going to be what ends up happening. But Eisenhower said, I often find that in preparing for war, plans are useless. But planning is essential. You got to give me something so I know what I'm deviating from. At least we had some sketch of an idea about what it was going to be like. Have an annual team budget and allow for some hiccups. If you really know you need 15 grand to do the year, plan a budget that aims to make 20. So that when a couple of those things don't happen, you're not left in the lurch going, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Be realistic, involve the kids, because ultimately if it's a kid-driven organization, it should be a kid fundraising organization too. Set expectations and hold people accountable. Because expectations where people aren't held to, no, you have to do this. We got to get this done. Right? I mean, first is great at that, right? The ship deadline, or the build deadline. It's got to be in the bag by this date. Well, we're really behind. Can you give us another week? No. Absolutely not. Not even one more minute. By midnight, in the bag, period. Done. And thank God they do. Because if they allowed us to keep getting week-long extensions, I would have 12 weeks of madness in the spring rather than 6. Right? Cost management. You got the registration and the kit, which everybody has. You got the materials, which for our material side of things, we enlist the aid of local distributors as in-kind sponsors. We'll go to a place that sells, raw material like aluminum or steel, and we'll say, tell you what, you're probably, rather than you giving us a $250 check, which if we were to then use that $250 to buy material from you, we could probably get about $125 of material. Because realistically, you're making a decent profit on what you're selling. Instead of doing that, just give us some material. Give us some remnants. A lot of the things that you can't sell to anybody else that would go in the trash. That would go in the trash. Pizza's talking, or the ZD's talking about. You might throw it away otherwise. But that 3-foot section of aluminum bar, oh man, that's our arm. That's going to be our chassis. You can give it to us for free. And a lot of times they'll do more than just give you their scrap. They'll say, tell you what, it's all right, what do you need? We get anywhere between $500 and $1,000 of donated aluminum every year from a local distributor in exchange for which we recognize them as a sponsor. Team up with other teams. If you have to buy stuff, there's nothing to say that you can't team up with other teams in your area and buy it in bulk. I only got to buy one of these. It's going to cost me $5. Is anybody else using this? We got like 4 other teams in the area. Oh yeah, we'll all go and we'll get a box of them. We'll get them for half the price. As far as competition travel, stay as local as you can. In other words, we're in Erie. Last year we went to 2 competitions. We went to Pittsburgh and we went to Chicago. Both regional competitions, but the Chicago one cost us 4 times as much. More expensive hotels, further away, so we had to rent a bus. Had to leave earlier, so we had to have 3 hotel night stays, not 2. Whereas if we stay local, if we go to Buckeye in Pittsburgh, or Pittsburgh in Rochester, or Rochester in Buckeye, it's like 2 hotel nights because we leave crack of dawn Thursday morning. That doesn't sound like that big a deal, and it's kind of a pain to get up early, but hey, you just cut your lodging cost by 1/3. It's pretty substantial. Team up with other teams if you can. If you're renting a bus, maybe there's other teams in your area that are also going to go where you're going, and because a typical size team is only about 20 to 25 kids, and a bus holds 50-some people, you can split the cost of your bus in half by teaming up. Carpool, by all means. Stay at hotels that have free breakfast. I'm told that children like to eat. Even the children who don't. Well, yeah,
a lot.
I looked it up. It's true. They're all addicted to the chewing and swallowing part of life, so stay at a hotel that gives that to them for free. And that way, you save yourself twice. Once, you're not going to pay for breakfast. Even though it's sort of buried into the cost of the hotel, I'm sure that it probably is an advantage to do that. Second, logistically it's easier, because now I don't have to get them all rounded up over to a restaurant somewhere, get them all rounded up a second time and get them on the bus. I only have to do that once. Sponsorships. So that's the cost management side. There's not a whole lot that we have there. Most of this talk is about the fundraising side. Sponsorships is the first thing we'll talk about. Stay mostly local. I find that it's tough to go to Apple in Seattle or Google or someone and say, hey, you should donate to us in Erie, Pennsylvania, and they say, who? But if you go down the street to your local realtor and say, listen, I'm not asking you for $10,000 like we were going to ask Apple for. Can you give us $100? $250. And the other thing is, offer at different levels. You've seen it any number of different places, where they have the bronze, the silver, the gold, the emerald, the diamond, the platinum, the whatever. Right? Have the different levels, and potentially you can play that to your advantage in the sense that this is great. And it's so exciting because we have sponsors like you really make this possible. You and well, even your competitors doing it, and that's the great thing about this is it's able to be collaborative. The fact that they're giving $250 and you're only giving $100, it's whatever you can give, and we're grateful for anything you can supply. And occasionally they'll say, how much are they giving you? Well, we'll match that. That's okay. No, that's. I didn't mean like that, and you don't put it out like that, but just their natural tendency may be that they increase the support.
Until you ask, you never know
Sure.
what their response is going to be.
Have a presentation. Don't just go to the company saying, hi, we're building a robot and we need your help. Can you give us money? Go with a presentation, not a long one, 8, 10 slides, something. Or a booklet or something that shows you have prepared more than to just show up. And when you show up, make sure you do the big 4. You come in well groomed. If you can do it, either that you all have your team t-shirt, or that you're all in semi-professional kind of attire, a collared shirt, Dockers, if you're, young ladies, slacks or a skirt, something that says, well, that's already differentiating you from every other kid that's come in asking for money. Meet them with a firm handshake, good eye contact, and smile. I tell my kids, I said, when you go for a job interview, the fact that you're there means you start off at a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. You come in with your eyes downcast, you don't shake their hand, you don't smile, you're down to a 3.
And half a name.
And half a name. Hi, I'm Jim. Hi, Jim. How are you, Jim? Right? On the other hand, you come in and you say, hi, good afternoon, so nice to meet you.
Rudy,
Mike Hayes.
how are you?
Nice to meet you, Rudy. Immediately you raise the energy of the room. Nice firm handshake, good eye contact, and a smile. Wow, you just went from a 5 to a 7. Now if you stitch together 2 or 3 coherent sentences, you get to an 8. If you can answer any real good questions that he has or she has back to you, you're to a 9. And if you can show a genuine passion for the subject, I defy you to walk out of there without getting money. Because most people, given a chance to be charitable, will do so if convinced of the fact that the cause that they're being presented with an opportunity to be charitable toward is noble and is worthwhile. So that's all you're really doing, is by making sure those things can all happen. In-kind gifts work too. A lot of our sponsors are in-kind. We, as you'll see, we get to in a second here, we have a dinner theater that we perform as a fundraiser. It requires costumes. There's a local theater. Rather than us having to go out and buy the costumes, which would defray from the cost of, which would defray from the funds raised by having a higher incurred cost, now we can go to the theater and say, can you loan us a couple fancy schmancy jackets? Maybe a security guard's outfit? Okay. In exchange for which we will recognize you, because if we were to actually rent this from you, if we actually pay you money for this stuff, it would cost like $200. But because you're just loaning it to us, we'll recognize you as an in-kind sponsor, so we get your name out into the public a little bit more. Some free advertising, really. Because if we don't rent this stuff from you, it's just going to hang in your costume shop. It's not going to do anything for you. If you let us borrow it, we'll put it to good use. We'll get your name out there. And other than the fact that you've got to throw it in the next bag of dry cleaning you send out, it doesn't cost you a nickel. Plus the fact that I mentioned, you're helping a worthwhile cause. And when you do when you have the presentation, ask if at all possible. I mean, if they say no, we will donate, but we don't want a presentation. We'll just send you a check. If they insist on that, that's fine. If they will let you come and present, take the opportunity. For a couple reasons. One, it gives you the chance to do the presentation. It's good practice for you. Two, if you do it right, there's only upside. If you do a good presentation, you turn a $100 sponsor into a $300 sponsor. We went to a textbook manufacturer in town. They were expecting to give us a $200 check. The kids went in and did such a great job, they gave us $2,000. They were so excited, they called me from the place as they were walking out the doors. I was like, I said, hello? And I said, we're still here, but we got $2,000. And I could hear the lady in the background laughing, because she was like, well, yeah, but you did a great job. It's like, okay, well, look, you're excited. I understand. Because you didn't realize that kind of passion and articulation could bring those kind of results, but sometimes it can. And you never know which opportunity it's going to be that does that. Maybe there's hey, look, this is just a little mom and pop machine shop. They don't have that very much money. Yeah, but what you didn't know when you walked in is the guy who runs the machine shop, he had a kid who had this same sort of experience when he went through school, and he knew that if he'd had a first team at his school, he would have been that much stronger in college, or something like that. You never know where the gold mine is going to be for you. So give everybody the chance to be that sort of person. And then send the thank you letter. Send a nice certificate. Thank you. Here's what we did. Thank you so much. It amazes me how seldom thank you notes are sent. I got married 6 years ago. I have three. At the time there were 3 teenagers. Now I have 1 teenager and 2 young adults. When they get a gift, they don't send thank you notes. I said, no, you will send a thank you note. It doesn't have to be a novel, but you will write thank you very much for the I appreciate. The fact that you're sending a thank you note at all means you're a new, unique individual. There's not that doesn't get done very much anymore, and I don't know why. But boy, the lack of, if you fail to express gratitude, it will be perceived as ingratitude. Even if you're grateful, but you don't show it, it will be easy for the people on the giving end of that donation to perceive you as being ungrateful, and it may stiffen their checkbook so that it doesn't open as easily next year. So we send thank you letters, we send certificates, we invite them to the competitions. You should come and see this, it's really awesome. Do you have kids? Bring them, they'll have a great time. It's like the circus, but better because there's points being scored. It's like the NCAA Final Four, but it's better because there's toolboxes. Sell it however you like. And then invite them to your picnic. Because if I can, I really would like the chance for the sponsors of this thing to meet the students and to meet the parents of the students. So that, because this is the thing that's neatest about this, and first hits it, but it doesn't always scream it in its presentations. The robots that we build are merely vehicles. What do they talk about all the time? It's more important that we're working on the what? The R word, They're worried about creating not just robots, it's a different R word. It ends in ship. Relationships. That's
Say
what
that
it
again,
is.
I didn't get that.
First is very keen on the idea that while we build robots, that's not what we are primarily concerned with creating. The robot is a vehicle to allow a relationship to be fostered between engineering folks in the community and the students in the community. It's easy for, you look at a kid's bedroom and they've got, Mia Hamm up on the wall because, she loves soccer, or they got, Ben Roethlisberger because he loves football. Whatever, there's all sorts of sports posters. It's not as often that you see a kid with Albert Einstein or Thomas Edison or Bill Gates up on his wall. Wow, that would be just like him. Because the society doesn't celebrate as much the idea of, technical leadership.
Is that the ultimate goal? To understand that we can change our, whatever we want?
Sure. I tell kids, because I think it happens not just with kids, but certainly because we're working mostly with kids. It's who the main audience is for this message, but I tell it to anybody. Start with the assumption, whatever you want to do, start with the assumption that it's possible. Because if you start with the assumption that it's not, life's very convenient. It'll let you just stay right where you are. I'll bet you can't do that. Yeah, you're probably right. And then you sit here and you never do. I caddied for 6 years. I didn't do the paper route or the babysitting or the fast food stuff. I was a golf caddy at a cheap country club near where I grew up. And one of the guys said something that I will never forget. He says, "Well, you got to hit it." He was talking about when you're putting on you're putting on the green and the ball stops short. He's yelling at his partner. He says, "You got to hit it, Sam. 100% of all short putts don't go in." The way that you know that they're short is they stop before they got to the hole. Some putts that were too long hit the hole on their way to running past it and dropped in. You got to at least give yourself a chance of getting in the hole. So start with the assumption that it's possible. Go with the expectation that you're going to be able to succeed, and you'd be surprised how often you do. Just the fact that you're doing first. I mean, how long you guys have been doing first? How many years? This is your second, third, fourth? What are your years?
This is my 4th year in FRC, and I did 1 year of FLL before I came here.
Okay. What about you?
It's actually a rather complicated story, but 3 years-ish.
Okay. I'll take ish. Ish is fine.
There's a lot of
Years.
ish out there.
There's a ton of ish.
In every discipline.
So think back to 4 years ago. If you'd have said, if I'd have been able to talk to you 4 years ago and you 5 years ago and said, "I want you to build me a robot in 6 weeks with some friends of yours," would you have thought, "Yeah, I can do that, no problem"?
Yeah, no way.
Doubtful.
I'm still not sure sometimes when we get the competition and they get the kickoff day and the kids look at us and go, "How are we going to do that?" I have no idea. I have no idea. We're going to figure it out. Don't worry. It's possible. I know it's possible. I just don't know the answer today. But we're going to figure it out. Start with the assumption that it's possible, and it's amazing what comes your way. Okay. Fundraisers. This was going to be sort of the core of the talk, and I guess I've done okay on time because I've only used the first maybe 19 minutes talking about other stuff. Our biggest fundraiser every year is what we call the Mystery Dinner. Mystery Dinner basically starts off with some sort of a premise. Hello, welcome, and there's about 120 people in the audience. Hello, welcome everybody. I want to welcome you to the WDOA TV news station's annual news banquet. Thanks so much for coming. We're very excited. Of course, I'm sure you've heard about the untimely death of station manager Barb Dwyer. She was sort of a prickly personality, but she was tough as steel, I'll tell you, Barb Dwyer was. And, well, we're all very sorry. Yeah, and then slowly but surely, other characters stand up in the audience and say, "Don't give me that, Mr. Frank Lee Pompous," because all the names are bad puns. "We know all about how you wanted to get her fired," and these interchanges back and forth. And there's accusations and rebuttals. And after about 10 minutes, someone says, "Wait a minute, guys, everyone's at their wits' end. We understand. It's been a tense time. Why don't we get some food and let the police do their work." And as soon as you can tell everyone's done with dinner, then another scene breaks out because two characters start fighting, yelling at each other, and you get the attention of the audience, and you go through another 10 minutes of accusation and rebuttal. And through the course of the meal, clues get revealed. Oh yeah, well why didn't you know about the receipt from the drugstore that he had? Because clearly he wasn't just there buying Scotch tape, he also had bought 3 different kinds of medicines that weren't on his prescription list. What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about, and all of you can see what I'm talking about if you open up clue number 3 on your table. And they have an envelope, and they open up clue number 3, and they're, oh, there's a receipt. Look at that. That is interesting. And through the course of the evening, you'll get anywhere from 4 to 6 different clues that you're told to open up. And you're like, okay, I got a map, I got a photo of the crime scene, I've got a cash register receipt, and I've got a crossword puzzle. I don't know how to make sense of all that, but between all that's out in front of you and all that's been said through the course of the evening, you can solve who was, who actually did commit the crime. Dinner obviously gets included. It's a dinner theater, which allows us to charge a little bit more because people will pay more if they're there to be fed. The shows involve anywhere from 7 to 8 different characters. It's not Shakespeare. You're not doing Hamlet. The most a character typically has to speak is about 35 lines, and lines don't all have to be long paragraphs. A line can be something like, really? Who said that? Short. Generally a line is 2 or 3 sentences. Performances need not be experienced. God knows ours never were. Because I recruited people from GE, generally, who had never acted before, but I said, we're going to do this thing, and I need people to play the parts, and they will come. The other people at GE will come and watch this if they know that, oh my God, you're going to get Jeff Klein to dress up as a nun? Yes, we are. The first time we sold a performance out, we had Jeff Klein, who ran our final test area. He was like the guy that made sure all the locomotives got tested in Erie. But word got out that Jeff Klein was going to be playing a king in our medieval murder mystery dinner theater, and that he'd be wearing purple tights. And people said, Jeff Klein's going to wear purple tights? This I got to see. And we sold the whole thing out. A murder is announced at the opening. 3 8 to 12 minute acts get played out through the course of, you got Act 1, then dinner, Act 2, then dessert, Act 3, and it's time to solve it. And then at the end of having them all, everybody fill out their ballots and turn them in, you go through and you figure out who had the right answer. Then you do what we call the revelation, where you walk through, okay, here is who did it, here's why they did it, here's how you know, here's how the evidence that you saw presented before you actually does point clearly to that person. Guests, here's the neat part. How many of you have been to a movie that someone else that you know went to the same movie but not with you? Are you able to talk to that person about what you saw in the movie, and do you find that you both saw the same exact thing happen on both of your respective movie screens?
Never.
But yet you did, right?
Yeah.
You might not have perceived the same thing, but I'll guarantee you the performance that you witnessed when you went and saw, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is the exact same movie that your friend saw when she saw it in Portugal or London or San Francisco or wherever it was. The movie never changes. You might perceive and pick up on different things than they do, but the movie's the same. Have you ever gone to a play? Anyone ever gone to a play? Have you ever gone to a play where something went wrong or different, where the actor had to make something up because they could tell something had gone different, either in the audience's reaction or in their performance?
I was in a production of 12 Angry Women once where someone was supposed to stab a book and the knife broke before she could stab it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some improv.
Sure.
What did you do?
She just kind of went like, and then everyone else was like it kind of went with the flow of the scene for them to be like, well, there you go, you can't even do that right. So it was like.
Yeah, we were doing Annie Get Your Gun in Erie. There was outside the theater, there was a real by God electrical storm going on. And it knocked out the power. And at the time, the whole cast is on stage. Annie Oakley and Frank Butler are going through a marksman competition. And I'm playing Buffalo Bill, standing in the middle of the whole thing going, pull, hit, pull, hit. And it goes, inky black darkness. Nobody can see their hand in front of their face. And it stays like that for 45, 50 seconds, and we're thinking, you can't afford to have anyone trying to get up out of their seat to leave thinking that, well, we got to, I gotta go to the bathroom. Well, I don't want you trying to move in the dark. You'll get, you can fall and get hurt. So I have to improvise. In the black inking darkness, the audience hears me say, "Rest easy, everybody. Near as I can figure, this is one of them there solar eclipses I keep hearing about. They don't last very long." And a few minutes later, we got power back on. It was fine. But I came to find out that those who were there went and told their friends about this funny thing that had happened. And their friends came to see the show because they were hoping they'd see something a little different too. There was a story of Sound of Music being performed on Broadway there where they lost power and it stayed off. And the audience got treated to the rest of the show being performed with 5,000 flashlights. And all the characters walked around with their flashlight in their hand, illuminating their face. And at the end of the show, the producer came on and said, "We've got power back on. We feel bad that we were not able to give you the show that you bought the chance to see. We will perform it for you again from the point we lost power if you want." And the audience, what do you think the audience said? Do it or no?
No.
No. Why? Not because, well, no, it wasn't that good, I want to get going. No. The audience says no because if I leave it the way it is, I got a really special memory as a performance. You did something for me that no other audience got. That's when you go see a regular theater show. When you go to see a dinner theater like this, a mystery dinner theater, you know it's going to be different because you are interacting with the actors. By design, you get to ask them questions. And by design, they get to evade you with their answers. And then you have to ask them a follow-up question. What about this? What about that? And it's that whole banter back and forth, like, what? Well, how come you didn't know about what was going on in the alley there, Patrick? For God's sakes, you answer a lot of questions, do you? You ask a lot of questions. Can I ask you one question? Why aren't you eating your beans? Did you come with her? Are you going to take her home with you, please? Because, for the love of God, I can't take one more question from that one. It's too much. And she's laughing at me. You see she's laughing at me right now. Can you see that she's going on? I can't take it. I'm going over to table 5. They've treated me kindly tonight. And then, of course, when I come back around, then you're like, well, I did have one. Oh, you again, yes. What's the question this time, Mom? And you get that banter going on. And then someone else comes over and says, well, we were just talking to Patrick, and Patrick says you didn't know anything about this. He did he? Look, Patrick doesn't know what he's talking about, all right? Patrick's got his head so far up his butt, he should be looking at his own mouth. That's the problem with Patrick. He just talks a lot. What do you want to know? I'll tell you anything you want to know. What do you want to know? Go ahead, ask a question. Make something up. I don't care. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. See? You don't got no questions. You know why? Because I told you all the truth. How'd you like the beans? Patrick told you to eat the beans, didn't he? He's telling everybody to eat the beans. I don't know why. I ate the beans. I don't know what he's talking about. And it's this interactive thing. And because they feel somehow engaged by the performance, they're more likely to come back. The scripts are always family friendly. There's no profanity. There's no drugs, with the possible exception that somebody will occasionally have a hangover. There's never the use of illegal drugs or anything, other than like if the murderer sometimes uses a poison. But there's never any kind of drug usage. And I already told you about the printed clues.
I have a quick question. So
Sure.
Do you offer like multiple showings, or is it like a one-time thing?
We offer multiple showings. We promise everyone that, or we ask everyone to promise not to tell their friends what the answer is, or we will come and find them and they will be the victims in our next performance. And they're pretty respectful of that, because it's like, well, what would be the point? The prizes we're offering are not a new car. It's a $25 gift card to the grocery store. It's not worth, I'll tell you the answer to the mystery dinner. If you give me $10, nah, I'm not really that interested.
Also, how much planning goes into this every year, do you think? Like in hours or something?
Well, you mean how much rehearsal time?
Like just from start to finish, how much time do you guys put into this?
It probably takes me about a year to actually think of the script and write it, but as far as most of that year, it's just in the back of my mind sort of percolating. It's probably about 30 to 40 hours of actual writing.
Okay.
You're off the hook for that. I got all these scripts and I'll share any of them with you, so you don't have to write it. As far as performance is concerned, we put in about 8 to 10 hour-and-a-half rehearsals. And then it's, performance time. The performance usually runs about 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours. and we usually ask our actors to be there an hour before the show starts. As far as the planning of like the meal and whatever, we go someplace that they handle the meal.
Okay.
You know, we don't have to do it. Now, on the other hand, let's say you said, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to do this ourselves. We're going to cook a spaghetti dinner. It's going to be a low-budget meal. It's easy. We're going to make the spaghetti. It's however long it takes you to make a spaghetti dinner for 100 people, right? What would that cost? I don't know, not very much. Here's some wilted lettuce, a couple tomatoes, and some salad dressing. There's your salad. Here's spaghetti with some sauce. Here's a couple rolls. Have at it. I could probably do that meal for $6.
Just like lunch downstairs.
Sure. And nobody complained
yeah,
about the
that's
lunch
it.
downstairs. It was fine, right? Especially if I know I'm going to a fundraiser. I'm not expecting to be given steak. And then you charge them $25 for the ticket because that's a pretty fair rate for a dinner theater. In fact, it's actually cheap. We charge $30 for ours. We had charged $25 up until this year. This year we finally bumped it up to $30, and that's still cheaper than the other dinner theaters in the area. The others charge anywhere from $38 to high $40s. So figure 8 people for somewhere in the ballpark of 15 hours, so it's about 120 man-hours of rehearsal. But the truth be told, the rehearsals, we're having as much fun in rehearsals as we are doing work. Because, you know, it's these people, you know, you're getting to be an actor. You're getting to act a little goofy and play someone who's not you for a few hours. And the real trick to this is the fact that in the 2 hours of the theater, only about a half an hour of it is actual scripted. An hour and a half of it is all that table interchange stuff. I tell people it's like when I try to find an actor, I look for somebody who has a very, very strong BS gene. I'll let you guess what the BS stands for. It's not Bachelor of Science. And they're able to think on their feet quickly. You know, well, how did you know about that? How do you think I knew about that? You think I'm dumb? Of course I knew about that. Everybody knew about that. He knew about that. You didn't know about that? See? He knew about that. How did he know about that? How everybody knew about that. That's all. I'm just telling you. You know, and it's that kind of stuff. It's that improvisational stuff. It's so much fun. On average, per year since 2012, we've made about $13,000 a year. We make about $3,000 to $4,000 a night. 4 nights, although the first time we did it, we only had 1 night. We seat about 120 to 140 people per night on a typical year. We charge $30 a ticket. The costs of the meal are actually covered by our sponsor, so when we do it, it's pure profit. If you were going to do like the spaghetti meal, let's say you were going to sell tickets for $25, but you could offer a $5 meal, it's $20 profit for each seat you sell. That's $2,400 for a 120-seat night. If you do 4 nights, that's almost $10,000. If you want, make it a dessert theater. We're just going to have brownies and cookies, guys. You're not getting steak or spaghetti, but we can still do, you know, a relatively cheap meal. The reason I mention all this is that we actually do offer these to other teams. We'll give you the script. We'll give you all the directions and instructions on how to do it. There are some of the different premises that we've come up with over the year. We've got, at this point, 19 of them in the barn. Some of which kind of were early efforts and I wouldn't recommend because I don't think the writing is all that good. Most of them are viable products that could make a go for you. When we were talking about just do a spaghetti dinner, zany, ziti, and zoot suits. It's supposed to be held at an Italian restaurant. Hey, there you go, spaghetti. It's even in keeping with the theme and everything. We do a golf tournament as well. That makes between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. Sponsorships are what drive that differentiator because it's $5,000 pretty much solid based on golfers and even a nominal amount of sponsorship. If you go out and aggressively get more sponsors, what we do is we actually sell sponsor signs. You can sponsor a hole. You can sponsor a green for $25, and there's not very many businesses that with an earnest kid looking at him with puppy dog eyes is not going to give you $25 so they can sponsor hole number 7. You know. The other thing that's nice about a golf tournament, when you do one of these, you don't have to find, 100 golfers. You need to find 25 golfers because every golfer you find already has the 3 friends he likes to golf with or she likes to golf with. They will find the other 3. And if we sell a foursome you make, in terms of profit, let's say we charge anywhere from $75 to $90 a hole, depending on where it's held. 25 of that's profit, so sell a foursome, that's $100 in your pocket, which is pretty nice. We also do a comedy night.
Hang on, sorry, I'm
Sure.
only typing. I can
No,
only
I'll
type so
email this to you. You don't have to take notes. If you, I mean, you're welcome to take notes, but if you're worried that you're going to miss a detail, I'll send this to you.
fast. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Because we can sell this to everybody. We do a comedy night. We make about $3,000 a year. It's only one night. We pack about 250 people in the room, $15 a guest or thereabouts. We split that 50-50 with the club. The club gets half the door, we get half the door. And then we do a Chinese auction with anywhere from 15 to 20 baskets being offered, with each basket being worth about $30 each. And that's, marketed well. That sells about another $1,000 worth of stuff. So that goes into the $3,000 figure. The last thing that we had here as an idea is one that we've never actually done, but I know that churches in our area have. State lottery. You probably have a state lottery here, right? A 3-digit number every day, a 4-digit number every day. Well, each number, so like you'll notice on this particular ticket, 0237, 2237, 4237, 6237, 8237. 5 different 4-digit numbers out of 10,000 possible 4-digit numbers. These are 5 of those 10,000. Do the math, you can tell there must be 2,000 unique tickets that could be sold in this way. Each 4-digit number is only sold once. Okay? And then what's nice about this is you can scale it in terms of, I can use a 3-digit number drawing instead of a 4-digit number drawing. I can decide on how many numbers are on each ticket. Maybe I don't want 5 on each ticket. Maybe I want 10. I decide how much each ticket costs. I decide how much prizes are worth. I decide how long the raffle runs. And this is what I think is almost sneaky about this. The lottery is by definition a game of chance. But if you sell every ticket that's available, and you know how much each prize is going to be worth, and you know each day will have exactly one winner, you'll know exactly how much you're going to make from this game of chance before you even start. So the church in our area does what they call March Madness. So they sell, I don't know, I forget how many tickets. I think it's 5 different 4-digit numbers on each ticket. Each ticket they sell for like $50. But each day's prize is like $100 or $500. I think it's $500. It's $500 for every day in March. But the 10th, the 20th, and the 30th are 5,000. And the 31st is like 10,000. So you're like, wow, that sounds like a really good. I got 30 different chances to win $500. All I got to do is get them $50. Yeah, all right. So 50 times 2,000. It's $100,000. They're going to give out 20, 10. I say 20, 10, 10, 10. That's 50,000. Plus 30 more at 5 and 15,000. They're going to make, X thousands of dollars on this. I don't even know they're going to make that much. That's a beautiful thing. So you could do this same thing, and what's nice about it is, let's say you decide that your team, we really need to find a way to make another $2,000. Okay, so play with this a little bit. Instead of doing March Madness, do we do the 12 days of Christmas? Do we do, the Valentine's Day countdown where we do 14 days? Do we sell tickets for $5 a piece instead of 50? And we offer $20 prizes? I don't know, but we have a spreadsheet that you can put all these numbers into, and it'll tell you, okay, here's how many tickets you have to sell at a minimum. If you have this many kids in your team, that means here's how many each kid has to sell. And so forth and so on. So it can be made to work fairly nicely. We've never done it because basically we've done the 3 things you saw before this, the comedy night, the golf tournament, and the mystery dinner. We've done each of those for like the last 10 years, and they're so lock solid that we've not tapped that 4th one yet. The basic guiding rule we have for fundraising is, because don't get me wrong, we didn't do this for a long time. We sort of stumbled into some of this stuff because we did a bunch of other stuff that didn't work very well first. We sold candy bars. We had thousands and thousands of candy bars. We'd sell them for $1 a piece, each one of which would give us 50 cents profit, which meant after you had sold, 8,000 of these things, you had $4,000 in profit, but you still had $2,000 of candy bars left over. So you really only made $2,000. And it seemed like, oh, geez, 2,000. And I'm eating so much candy, I'm breaking out with zits again. I'm 40-some years old and I'm breaking out with acne? Are you kidding me? You're making me nuts. So, and we tried other things. We did car washes in the winter. Not a good idea in Erie, Pennsylvania. Probably not a good idea anywhere in Ohio, right? It's just not the right time to have your hand in a bucket of water. We tried to sell Christmas candles. People I talked to was like, don't you want to buy a candle? Come on, it's Mount Rushmore. Each head lights up. No, I don't want to see Thomas Jefferson melt. It's not my thing. But what we stumbled on was the idea that if you can, rather than having a dozen small fundraisers that you're all trying to row a boat by pulling a spoon through the water, get yourself a really big oar and just make 3 big pulls, right? Do several big fundraisers that do very well each one, and the trick to each one is you're looking for something that the people are going to do anyways. You're getting them to do it for you. Look, Uncle Tom, you're going to take Aunt Betty out for dinner some night this month, right? Well, come to our dinner theater. Come on, you'll have a blast. She'll love that. She loves that kind of stuff anyway. She likes theater. And you tolerate it okay, even though you'd rather be watching a football game. But some of the characters, they come pretty close to, getting into a tackle with each other, so it's almost like football. And now they're going to spend their money on, instead of doing dinner night out at Red Lobster, they're coming to your dinner theater. And when their neighbors hear they're coming to we've always wanted to go to one of those. Okay, you just sold 4 tickets. And if your profit margin is like 20 or 25 bucks, it's like $100 in your pocket, all because Uncle Tom was going to take Aunt Betty out to dinner and didn't know where to go. Do that 20 times, you're at $2,000. So that's that. I did bring, just to sort of show that I'm not making this up, this is this year's, which we have yet to perform. That's the playbill from it, so you can sort of thumb through it and sort of see kind of how we've laid it out. Questions? I realize I'm kind of up against the time limit. But any
You're
questions?
fun.
Oh.
You're fun.
My dad used to tell me you have no reason to expect an audience to be any more excited about a subject than you are. If you present it like a salt-free rice cake, expect them to receive it that way.
One of our biggest problems last year was lack of accountability among the sub-teams, because business was very separated from all of the other sub-teams, so it didn't really affect them if they weren't successful. Do you have any tips, hints, suggestions?
We did for years. We had what we came to call sort of a socialist model, right? The fundraising all went into a big bag. Comes competition time, we've got this many kids to take them all on the trip. It's going to cost this much money. Does the bag have that much money in it? If it does, we will all go on that trip. If it doesn't, the team is going to stay home. And because enough people on the team worked their butts off, the bag always had enough money. But what we didn't know, and what some of the kids came to tell us later, was there are kids who are not doing anything to raise money, gloating at the fact that they're going to get to go to competition, even though they didn't have to sell any candles. And they're not interested in selling any of this or doing any of that. And we want you, the students said, we want you to hold each one of us individually accountable. So if I sell 10 tickets, I get credit for selling 10 tickets, and if they didn't sell any tickets, they don't get credit for selling any tickets. So that's what we did. We basically came up with a contract. We said, okay, here's the deal. To go on trips with the team, you need to do a few things. First of all, you got to comply with the ideals of gracious professionalism. You can't be in disciplinary trouble with the school. You can't be rude or disdainful with other students or with other participants, be it on our team or anyone else's. You have to be in academic good standing. Same as you'd be on a sports team. If you don't have the grades, you can't travel with football. If you don't have the grades, you can't travel with us. Third, you have to have a certain level of participation. Every time the team does something, whether it's a community outreach event or a team meeting, it's an opportunity. In order to travel to one competition with the team, because we normally do 2, sometimes we do worlds. In order to go on one competition with the team, you have to attend 30% of all meetings. We don't expect you to be able to make every single one. Hey, your family was on vacation those 2 weeks. I don't expect you to enter those meetings. Which is why we don't have anyone expecting to come to 100% of these things, right? 30% you go to one competition, 45% you go to 2 competitions, 60% or more you get to go to both regionals and the worlds. Along with that, not only do you need 30% to go to one competition, but you need to raise a certain amount of money. If you're a rookie, because normally the comedy night and the golf tournament happen before rookies have joined the team for that year, rookies have to raise $125 to go to one competition, $250 to go to 2, and $500 to go to everything we go to. Sponsorships, if they get sponsorships, the sponsorship they went out and recruited gets credited to their account in full, unless they're doing it after the start of the build season. If they get the money in before kickoff, they went out and got a $250 sponsorship, they get credit for $250. If they waited until after kickoff to do this, despite the fact that we were imploring them to please do it sooner, if they wait until after kickoff, they only get half of what that money said. So they got $250 sponsorship, and they came in after kickoff, they get credit for $125. So $125, $250, $500 for a rookie, $200, $400, $800 for a returning member. And that tends to work pretty well. And there are kids that say, yeah, I just don't want to do any fundraising. My parents are rich, they're going to write a check. Fine. I'm okay with that. But the reason the fundraisers are there are, as much as anything else, so that someone whose parents aren't rich can still, work their way to provide for their own, their own travel.
Yeah, on 2399 we started, we went to Worlds one year and realized that when we were on bus, we realized that there were a lot of kids here who signed up, put their name down, were on the email list, but didn't go to a lot of the meetings. And while they were useful as scouts or whatever, but they weren't there.
Right.
So we started requiring a certain number of outreach hours or credits per vet or rookie, depending on depending on whether they were a vet or rookie. Yeah.
This may not project well, so I'm going to take it off projector. I'll bring it over to the table and show you.
Do you think you have the answer to it now?
It is 2:30 right now.
Yeah.
What was the
Do you
question?
think you have the answers now that would get people to be accountable?
We're working on it. We have set up outreach hours and stuff. Our problem with business is that we don't really have any fundraisers established right now, so.
The other thing I'll
We
say
need
about
to-
having the established fundraisers, everyone in here knows the murder mystery is the first 2 weekends of November.
Yeah.
So I give them a call in August, they're buying tickets.
Oh, wow.
This is a full log of all the meetings. And then if you go all the way over here, this is how much money they've raised, how much of their way toward the goal. Red is they're nowhere near it.